Hi guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're doing my September audiobook wrap-up. In case you missed it, yesterday I posted my September reading wrap-up. I will link that up here in the cards for you guys. You can click that little eye and check it out. Those are all the books that I physically read for the month of September. There were only a couple, but I absolutely loved them. So go on over there and check them out. For September, I mostly read like darker fall atmospheric reads, but there were a few that were kind of left over from other months that weren't kind of on that theme. I'm gonna talk about those pretty much first, but first I'm gonna share the only book that I DNF'd this month. So this is not the first book that I listened to, but I always like to get my DNFs kind of out of the way. So I DNF'd Hexed by Michelle Cries. I'm so sad because I love this cover, and I've had this book for a couple of years now, and I've been meaning to get to it because it has all of the witchy vibes. It wasn't the narrator's fault, but I just didn't love the writing style. It was very, very high school-y, and I didn't enjoy the way that the characters talk to each other. And I know I'm an adult reading YA, but I read hundreds and hundreds of YA books and totally enjoy them, even the high school ones. This one just was a little too heavy on the like language and things like that, and I just didn't think anybody was very likable. I wasn't that interested in the story. I thought it was going to be a little bit more old-fashioned than it was, and it's set in modern times. So I wound up DNFing this one because I just have so many spooky reads to get to, sadly. Then I did Hikeathon, which is a readathon I hosted. It's all about like fitness and reading. First book I listened to was Ivory and Bone by Julia Eshbaugh. The narrator for Ivory and Bone is Michael Curran Dorsano. This one is set in like prehistoric times, so I thought it would be appropriate for Hikeathon. I don't know why. I've had this for a while. I had Obsidian and Stars as well. I didn't love this one. I thought the writing was interesting, and I liked that it was a little bit different. So the author is basically speaking to you. So the lead character is basically in love with one of the girls in this time period, and he's saying like, you are doing this and you are wearing this, and so it feels like he's kind of directly talking to you, which was kind of interesting and different. It was a lot more eloquently written than I was expecting. There is some like trigger warnings if you're sensitive to like things being done to animals. There's a lot of hunting and stuff in here because it's prehistoric. I personally thought that it was fine. I'm an animal lover, but you know, it's the time period, so they have to hunt and eat and things like that. So they do that. It's not like overly described, but it's in there. I liked the twist and things. It just was very slow, and I didn't get overly attached to the characters. I was planning on reading the second book in the duology, but then I was just kind of like, I don't know if I really care. So this was a solid 3-star. I didn't dislike it, but it didn't quite make it to like a super enjoyable read for me. Then I listened to The Boundless by Anna Bright, narrated by Emily Rankin. This is the second book in the Beholder duology, and I absolutely loved this. Emily Rankin did a fantastic job narrating both of these books. Both of these books blew me away. I was thinking they were going to be a little bit more silly and fun, and they definitely were tons of fun, but they were also filled with like political intrigue and thoughtful relationships and emotion and just lovable characters, and I was just totally blown away with how everything wrapped up, and it was so sweet. The ending particularly was so good. There was a lot of redemption and wonderful things that happened in here. I thought this was a fabulous duology that isn't talked about enough here on BookTube, and I really enjoyed the audiobook in particular, and I wound up giving this one 4.5 stars. So after Hikeathon was over, I picked up A Reign of Shadows by Sophie Jordan. This one was narrated by Phoebe Stroll. I kind of have like a love-hate relationship with Phoebe Stroll. Not hate, but like sometimes I love her narrating and sometimes I'm kind of like, it's okay. So this one is set, I think, in modern times in the woods. Basically a plague has happened. I think it's a plague, and there are basically zombies outside in the woods, and so these camps are kind of sectioned off and protected from these creatures. I don't remember their exact name for them. And there is a girl, and she lives in a tower, and she has never like really left her town. It very much has like a village vibe to it, kind of Forest of Hands and Teeth. I was really hoping to love this one. I just didn't. I thought it was kind of boring. I thought Forest of Hands of Teeth was done way better for a very similar style of book. There was a couple twists in here that were nice, but nothing enough to make me want to finish the duology. It was just kind of okay for me. So this one sadly only wound up being about a 3-star. Then I listened to Aerie by Devana Headley. So this is the second book. Again, I'm big on duologies right now, in the Magonia duology, and I'm so excited I finally got to it because I have been holding on to Magonia for a really long time. So Magonia is set in our current time, and we are following our lead character, Aza, and she has something wrong with her. She has a very bad immune system, and she can't breathe very well, and the scientists and things can't figure out what's going on. And then all this magical stuff kind of comes into play that kind of explains what's going on with her and her life. And I don't want to give away too much because it's kind of good if you go into it not knowing a lot. There are sky pirates in here and a whole other world, and lots of myth and lore that I wasn't familiar with, which was really, really fun. Book 1 for me was 5 stars, and Therese did such a good job narrating, as well as the other narrator who I listed earlier. He was also fantastic. I just thought it was so engaging and captivating. I didn't love this one quite as much, which is kind of the general consensus. I did really, really enjoy it though, and so it was still a 3.5 4-star for me. Next up, I listened to book 2 in Cirque du Freak, The Vampire's Assistant by Darren Shan, narrated by Ralph Lister. I'm kind of slowly going through these. These are 5-hour middle grade vampire-y goodness books. It's about a young man that discovers this Cirque du Freak circus with all these creepy, crazy looking and acting people, and he kind of gets sucked into the world. The title of this one kind of gives away what happens in the first one. I am so blown away with the caliber of writing for these, and also how incredibly dark they are for middle grade. Honestly, if I had a kid, I'm not sure if I would let them read this right away, because they are so richly dark and they are so well written, and they just pull on your heartstrings and your emotions. I almost cried in this one. I just expected them to be a lot more fun and silly than they are, and they are so much fun. But it just has a lot of depth to it, and Ralph Lister is such an amazing narrator. It's just, these are just such great books, and I cannot wait to read the rest of them. I'll probably only get to 1 or 2 this year, but they're fantastic. And if you're looking for a slightly spooky or creepy read, I would definitely check these out. They're just so great. I want my husband to listen to them too. So this one was a 4.5 star read for me. Next up, for a book club that I'm a part of, we chose Roar by Cora Cormack. I, of course, decided to listen to this one on audiobook. This one's narrated by Soneela Nankani. I hope I'm saying that correctly because she was fantastic. So my only issue with this is I should have kind of gotten this out of the way in the beginning of the month, because after the first week of September, I only wanted to read vampires and witches and magical woods and all that kind of stuff. And so this one is definitely not that. I mean, it's kind of witchy, but not really. And so I was a little bit distracted and kind of wanting to get it done because I wanted to dive into more atmospheric things, but it won me over in the end, and I really, really enjoyed it. This one is about Aurora, and she comes from a stormling family, and they're known to kind of handle or take care of storms and things like that. It's very much about kind of controlling the weather or capturing the weather. So Aurora has not shown any magical abilities yet, but she is bred and trained to be queen of this particular place, and so her mother, to kind of save her, has pledged her to marry another stormling prince and kind of keep things wrapped up and together. And then just a bunch of things happen that I don't want to give away. I really liked it, and the ending was really, really surprising. Explanations for certain things were kind of drawn in. The romance in here is it's fantastic, and just all the characters you get really, really attached to, and I thought the writing was really beautiful. The narration was of course fantastic. I would compare this to Wind Witch, but I haven't read Wind Witch, but that would be my guess. I do like girls that can kind of control the weather, or lightning, magic, and all those kinds of things. Those kinds of stories. I will be reading book 2 in November because I've got a big catch-up month coming up, but I did really enjoy it, and I wound up giving it 4 stars. And lastly, I reread The Haunting of Sunshine Girl by Paige McKenzie. This one is narrated by Paige McKenzie herself and T. Ryder Smith. I reread this because I want to continue on with the trilogy and see how I feel about it. Last year, it spooked me out just the perfect amount, and I wanted to see if it kind of like stayed there for the audiobook because I kind of forgot some things that happened. So this is actually supposed to be based on a YouTube phenomenon that I think Paige created and then wrote a book about it. I haven't checked it out because I'm a little bit scared because it's kind of got that haunted house vibe to it. We've got a lot of ghosts in here, talking to ghosts and things like that. I'm not a big ghost story person, so far this is one of the only books I've read that I'm okay with ghost story wise. This one, for example, has a very much a high schoolery feel to it, but in the way that I enjoy, and it was like lighthearted and fun and silly, but also had those darker elements into it. There was a lot of mystery involved. I thought that it was done really, really well and is really enjoyable for this time of year particularly. There's a cute tiny little romance in here. There's some mother-daughter bonding and all kinds of great things. So I really enjoyed this one and I gave it 4 stars upon rereading. I will continue on with the rest probably next month. Those are all the things I listened to for September. I thought I did pretty good overall. I definitely have a lot more like themed reads coming to you for October. I'm very, very excited about the things that I'm reading and listening to. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out yesterday's video if you haven't already. And let me know what you're reading currently and what you read in September. Give me all your like lightly spooky, atmospheric themed reads because that's what I do for the entire month of October. So thank you so much for watching. See you next time on The Bright Side.